Gentlemen, welcome to Masculine Charisma Mastery, and this is going to be a masterclass on stop dating until you do these things first, right? So, guys, if you're in dating, you need to get these three things handled. If you're already in a relationship, you still need to work on these three things. It's a must, it's the baseline. So when we work on these three things, what happens is that it prevents you getting into a lot of hot water, a lot of trouble with women. So the first thing I'm going to ask you guys to do is stop something. So before we look at what three things you must be doing, let's have a look at some of the things that you must stop. First of all, stop looking for women dating apps to fill a void, right? Emptiness. It's like I'm going to put everything onto a relationship and that's going to fill me up. Anyone think of this? Anyone feel like, a relationship's going to complete me? So let's really get away from that idea. Connections are important, yes, but a specific relationship will complete you. I used to think like this as well. So let's get rid of that. Second thing is when you do set up dating apps, when you do set up profiles, let's get rid of the weak profiles because they're going to get you ignored. So most nice guys, what they have is a really weak profile, which communicates more like lettuce than it is like chocolate. So what I mean by that, it's very boring. So it's very logical. It's not very enticing. It's not very tasty, silky smooth like chocolate. Women love chocolate. And your photos, most guys' photos are, needs a lot of work on. So what I would say is get some professional photographs. The next thing is don't be deleting apps, putting on, then deleting it, putting on. If you've deleted apps, make sure you have a good break from it. Don't just go in from like just 10 minutes of deleting app, then saying, right, I'm gonna put it back on again. So you want to get away from that cycle of deleting on, deleting off. And want to have a good break. Why? Because we don't want to be getting in this abandonment, engulfment cycle. So this pendulum swing. Second thing is stop putting women on a pedestal, right? Putting women on a pedestal is if you still got this, it means that you still have issues that you need to get resolved because when you go on when you go on dates, or even if you're in a relationship, you are still gonna feel inferior, not enough. And if you're coming from a place like that, women will not respect you, they will not highly desire you. And if you're already in a relationship and you're putting on a pedestal, she will then start to fade away, her attraction will fade away, her respect will start fading away because women, by evolutionary, they look for men who are above her, like equal or above, usually above. So the power dynamic, which is really difficult for a lot of women to really accept this, is that some women do actually. They like a man to be more powerful than she is. Like, I want him to teach me. I want him to be more stronger than me. I want him to be more of a man than I am a man. That's a really one I hear. The next thing is ignoring red flags. Oh my God, she's so beautiful. She's so hot. She gives me good sex. We're having sex like fucking like rabbits. Oh, I'm hooked on her. And you guys are ignoring red flags. So make sure that if you're dating and you're ignoring red flags or you get hooked onto a woman, that is, you got to stop all of these things. And then the thing is repeating all mistakes. So it's a lot of guys, what I see is they keep repeating the same mistakes. I know I repeated quite a few of my few times, but the reason is you will repeat a few mistakes because when you learn about personal development, about psychology, about growth, about women, you've cognitively learned and you'll be like, fuck, man, I know everything. And you go back out and then you're going, holy fuck, I'm still making the same mistakes. Anyone done this? Right? So we all know don't eat crap, but we still do. We all know a lot of things. What it is there's an embodiment gap. You need to be able to embody what you believe, your new thoughts you want to believe. So everyone makes those mistakes. All right, so let's have a look at the three things that you got to do. Here's the thing before you go out dating, before you start really, really dating, is I want you to get a handle on your mental health, your connection skills, and your social and hobbies. You really need to get these three things handled. And they have to be non-negotiable. Let me repeat that again. These have to be non-negotiable. What I see a lot of men do is when they get into a relationship or they fuse, they get attached, they let go of these things that keeps them propped up. So this is sign of heavy codependency, heavy mother-son enmeshment, right? So enmeshment, this is a sign of like, I don't have a good, strong base. So what I do is I will hijack her base. I will, use her base. So here we want to make sure that these three things are non-negotiable and no woman will push you off these three things. So really in mental health, what we want to do is get fit and strong. I mean, you don't have to be an athlete. I'm nowhere an athlete, but at least you work out a couple of times. You go for a walk every single fucking day. That's a non-negotiable. You have to be out, and you could lift some weights. I mean, I don't lift a lot of heavy weights, but I do a lot of reps until my arm, I start screaming, right? So I'm thinking, it really hurts now. But I'm not lifting a lot of weights. I'm like piddly weights. And the guys are, the ego wants to lift. Let me see how many bench press ups I can do, like 4,000 pounds. That's what the ego is trying to do, is like grandiose stuff. So that another thing is dress sharp. Really put an effort into the way you show up for yourself. Calm your anxiety. That's a really important one. So just work on composure. So there's a lot of work that we'll be doing on composure work. And the next thing is desexualize. So a lot of guys, when they go on dates, when they're with a woman, they're like real sexual, the guys who've been locked up in a cage and they're like rampant. So what happens is then we start to use a lot of porn to sexualize, like fill that gap up. So as you get older, and as Napoleon Hill says, that when men reach the age of 40, what they tend to do is they tend to transmute their sexual energy towards building something, a business, or any kind of project or community. So you can use your sexual energy to get fit, to get strong, to get rid of that procrastination, to work on a lot of energy, a lot of like challenges in your life. So use that energy to do something good. Raise your testosterone level, getting fit, good sleep, eating lots of fatty, kind of good, healthy fat, they will raise your testosterone level. And that'll help you to, it'll turn up your sexual energy, that's for sure. But you can use it for really amazing things. Heal your past traumas and your fractures, right? Of course, you're not going to be 100% perfect on this. No one is. But you are going to work on some things that are going to be troubling you. So you need to find out something that causes you a lot of pain and work on healing this. The next thing is build courage and joy. So you gotta be courageous. If guys ask me, hey Faisal, how do I escalate? How do I seduce women? How do I do all of these things to women? You don't need to fucking know that. If you had a lot of courage, you'd fucking do it. Think about it. If- I know when a man is lacking testosterone, he's lacking masculine energy, when he's lacking a lot of courage, he'll ask me for the step-by-step guide to every fucking thing. The guy who has a lot of courage, so what's the opposite of courage? Is cowardice. And that really hurts. That stabs you. Do you have the courage to, take some fucking hard feedback? Do you have the courage to listen and really confront the way you're showing up? Do you have the courage to accept the truth about yourself? It takes a lot of courage. I'm not saying it's easy, but it takes a lot of courage. And it's that same courage that will transform your life, will also transform your seduction, your attraction, your success, your communication. So courage is an important thing. And also, you gotta have joy with it. You gotta be grateful. You gotta enjoy the journey. These are all important things of mental health that guys miss. Is that they're not enjoying the journey. Everything's a problem. Everything's negative. If you can't enjoy your steps right now, you got to find moments. I remember my ex-wife, she said something really amazing, and I remember it. She goes, our relationship wasn't perfect, but it did have some perfect moments. And I thought that's a really wonderful way of spinning on it. So your life won't be perfect. Mine is not perfect. No one's life is perfect, but you'll have a lot of perfect moments. And you've got to create those perfect moments. Create those perfect moments and practice good habits. That's vital. So this is the masculine foundation. This is a mental health foundation. You need to get some foundation. There are more things to this, but I just wanted to give you the basics. Get all of these handled. The next thing I want you to practice before you even go out dating is, gentlemen, this is something that men really struggle with, is connection skills. Not all men, but a lot of men do. But connection skills does require a lot of, I say, more feminine energy, but it also requires a lot of patience. So nourish your current connections right now. This is what you have to do, is rather than making new connections right now, nourish them. Text a friend, hey man, I miss you. Been a long time. Let's catch up. When was the last time you sent something like that? I really value our connection. I really appreciate that. I'm sending these messages to guys in my world, men and women in my world, on a regular basis. Hey, you know what? I really like. I have a friend, right? Since I've known him since 18 years old. He's funny as fuck. He just makes me laugh, and he's also a nice guy as well. He doesn't do this work, but he's just so light and joyful to be around. I haven't seen him for a while, and I said, "Hey, I really fucking miss you. Let's go out." And he's like, all over the, flying all over the place at the moment. I'm like, "Fuck, just make some time." So really appreciate that. And get great at communication. Women say they're great communicators. No, they're not. Men say men are not great communicators. Women are not great communicators. Being able to express your emotions doesn't make you a great communicator. It makes you a great expresser, but not a great communicator. There's a difference between great communication and great expression. Women are, ninjas are expressing their emotions. Some nice guys can do this as well. They can just talk endlessly. I'm kind of guilty of that one. Great communicators are the ones who listen intently. And another thing that great communicator does is one thing, right? They don't always try to fix your problem. They're like, I understand. And they understand when to come in, when to push you, when to pull you. So great communicators are not always trying to fill that gap. Great communicators can relax, understand there's a problem, think about it, go, and then they will decide whether they need to participate in this conversation or not. And they will ask questions. They will be very curious. Another thing about communication is end your avoidance. Avoiding, well, I don't want to have a deep conversation, or I don't want to confront somebody. So great connectors and avoidance. They're not trying to avoid conflict, avoid having difficult conversations. It's very, again, this requires that muscle of courage. And the next thing is learn psychology. I mean, you guys are on it, right? So you guys are, it's great to see you guys are on this path and you guys are doing most of this. What you can do is amplify some of this. So psychology, learn your psychology, learn your blind spots. Again, coaches, therapists, even your friends, people can pinpoint your blind spots. Everyone has them. My coaches point out my blind spots and say, hey, Faisal, you're doing this. I remember my coach, I went for breakfast one day with my coach, and then we had a few people. And then afterwards, he said, Faisal, did you notice you said this and you did this? I was like, I did what? He says, you did this. And I said, did I? He goes, never fucking do that again. I was like, what? He said, never do that again. That makes you look weak and low status. Never do that again. So we all have our blind spots. So learn psychology, check out Robert Greene's work, Human Nature, 40 Laws of Power. It's a really good way to learn, and learn female psychology as well, because a lot of nice guys, they can be quite naive. All right, the next thing is, before you go out dating, you want to make sure you're good at socializing and you have hobbies. Women love men who are good at socializing and connecting, right? So make sure you show up in the real world. Guys, I know that we can hide behind our computer screens, we can hide behind text messages, but 80% of your connection with women has to be in real life. Why? Because eventually you'll get into a relationship which is going to be in real life. So show up at events. Faisal, where are these events? They're everywhere. If you live in a like reasonable city, you'll find salsa classes, dance classes, seminars, psychology events, yoga event. There are all types of events. Tony Robbins put this really well. It's not the lack of resources, it's the lack of resourcefulness. Just go on Google, find events near me. Why don't you go to a black tie charity event? Why don't you go to a arts event? Why don't you go to um, maybe religious events? There's all types of events that will get you out of your norm. And also, don't do this one thing, right? When a nice guys, what they tend to do is they get into that comfort zone and they find one or two events and kind of like stay there. Anyone on that? So like, oh yeah, I'll go to, I'll join this club, and then they think that they're doing a lot more, but they kind of like stayed stagnant. I remember I ended up going to this meetup.com, which is a great place to go on. I was like, okay, it's the weekend, right? And I was going out three, four times a week for 2 years nonstop. And I said, okay, Faisal, do something different. Don't go to your normal comfort zone. Book something. And I was like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. I ended up booking this, I think it was like classical music concert or something. I ended up going there. Everybody's in their 60s and 70s. I thought, fuck, what a waste of time. This is what you call negative losing thinking. And I was like, oh, this is a waste of time. I'm not going to get anything out of it, right? So we're always looking to get something out of it. COVID contract, it has to be something I have to get out of it all the time. I wasn't extracting value. I'm thinking like it should hand me down value. And then, we all went to I enjoyed the concert a bit. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is different. This is classical stuff. It's not my usual forte, but this is cool. And then afterwards, people said, oh, do you want to come for a drinks afterwards? I said, yeah, why not? And I started having this really interesting conversation with, people much older than I. And then guess what? One of the guys' daughter turned up. She was in her 30s, pretty girl. She turns up, and guess what? It just added a cherry on top. So never ever write off things. Make the most of it, right? And that's so important. The next thing is when you're doing events, why don't you volunteer? Do you need any help? I started volunteering for a lot of events and then start hosting your own. I remember we had a Christmas party just before COVID, and I think about 25 guys, girls, and guys came up. I booked a rooftop bar, and a lot of the guys I knew from my speaking places, some coaching clients, everything they turned up, and we had a great night there as well. Another thing you can do to really spruce up your social life and hobbies is to friend zone women. You don't have to sleep with every single woman. That's the thing, right? So desexualize here. So make women your ally. Get them on your side. If you've got hot, pretty women friends, guess what? They know more hot, pretty women. And they can expand you in a social circle. I just went out recently to this really cool place in London. And she said, oh, Faisal, come out. I'm leaving the UK. I want you to meet some of my friends. I'm like, yeah, sure. Yes. And then she goes, why do fucking hell, why? She got really angry. She's like, why do men have to ask a billion questions before they come out? What's the venue? What's it like? What's this? Who's going to be there? She said, why don't this guy just say yes? This is something I had to learn. Champion's mindset. Either I'm yes or no. If I'm yes, I don't need to ask a million questions to get that certainty. Who's going to be there? What's it? No, just fucking turn up. And you never know what the world is going to surprise you with. It always ends up giving you surprises. So say yes and make guy friends. Have good male friends. Get some new guy friends as well. So make some good friends that you can hang out with. I have different types of friends. I have buddies I play poker with, and we go out and we travel for poker. We have nights out. Just a different level of friends. I have friends who are in the personal development and psychology space. That's very different. I have friends who like to do kind of like fitness stuff. There's all different types, so they all nourish me. And the whole purpose is all of this is to nourish your life, is to nourish your complete your life in more than just having a relationship, a woman. Because if you just make your woman that has to complete your life, then you become very codependent on her and then you start suffocating her. So these are just three simple things, right? And all of these things require consistent effort. And you can't give up any of the things that prop up your mental health, your connections, okay, your social stuff, just because you get into a relationship. Nice guys, I guarantee you, 99% of them, once they get into a relationship, they get comfortable and they stop making the effort. That's just something that you cannot do. Here's what I want you to do is let's go in a breakout room. Let me just pause this. And then I want you to ask, like, what are the three things you really want to strengthen? Okay. So what are the three things you want to essentially social life, your connection, mental health, which is the three things that you feel like a bit weak right now and you want to strengthen.